How are you doing, Juergen?
Every time I'm here, it's fantastic. Thank you.
Why? Because of the weather? Because of the people?
It's a combination. It's a fantastic piece of architecture. It's a fantastic city. It only works because the civilians are on the street all the time. It brings a lot of attention, tourists. It has a radiance all over the world, and it's a place that you want to see, that you want to enjoy.
For me, it's really special when I finish a book and I had in my hands, as you are now. But for you as an architect, what do you feel being in something you imagined 25 years ago?
I have to say, looking at the project from the competition development all the way to now, it's much more than I expected.
Yeah?
I knew it had to be something lively, it had to be something that invites, that makes you curious, that you can't really understand right from the very first beginning. But the people from Sevilla, like the citizens here, they really embrace it and they use it as part of their everyday life. It's for meeting friends, it's for dating, arrangements, it's for getting a food, to have a beautiful space upstairs to show your friends when they come visit.
Yeah.
And I think visitors feel it. It's part of the city. It's part of mutual understanding that is a project that shows the innovation capacity of the city and also the curiosity for the future.
Do you think that this was going to change the spirit of the city? Because I think you did it with this.
I mean, not in this dimension. I have to say it's much more than I expected. There was hope that this project here brings the development of the south part of the city center into the north Alameda area, which was at that time a little bit dark, shady.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I
also
was
interesting,
living there
exciting.
20 years ago, and it was risky.
But it was also exciting, for a city. So it has both sides. Now it's becoming maybe too developed already and too much activity. But this already worked from the very beginning. Setas de Sevilla, the north part, which was already named after like a year when it was in place, shops opened, new cafes. I mean, it became really lively. What I couldn't see is how much it really echoes this kind of excitement, what a city place can be really worldwide. Last year it was on the cover of the New York Times International edition. With if you want to care about shade and climate, you should look at Seville because this is maybe a solution, that we can need everywhere in the future. Or you go to, I don't know, to get like a Lonely Planet book and it's on the cover. You have the Biggest Loser, which was a TV series also on top here where you run and you lose weight. This was like an American or German, some kind of TV series. Then you have like Red Bull, a contest here. You have a lot of sports events, but you have also religious events. You have commercial film, all kinds of appropriations. I collect videos from music from Bollywood, Bollywood music stars to Swiss cheesy songs, pop songs. I mean, everything happens to be here. Like hip hop, rap. Everybody seems to have some kind of response to that. You see, MTV is doing their awards here. It's such a place of appropriation somehow. That people really like to be part of it, and that's really nice.
You have to be really proud about this because it's a symbol of the city.
I'm proud, but I'm also very grateful that the people make it happen. This project in Regensburg, Munich, or I don't know, maybe in Lyon wouldn't work so much because you really need a certain density also, because this is an airy space within a very dense urban fabric, and people like to be around each other, and I think it's a combination of both, the right architecture for the right people.
The beginning, people didn't understand the Setas, I think, local people, I mean, and sometimes it was something wrong about the thinking of the people. Can you remember that? How did you feel with this first impression? It was something like an UFO here in the city. Bang, and everyone was, what is this?
If this would have been a regular competition, I think it would not have happened. Usually you have a competition, it's anonymous, and then somebody opens the envelope and then you read the name and you see the project.
Yeah.
And then there would be surprise. In this case, it was a different process, and I think that's the success also of this competition. The competition was anonymous in the first phase, open to everybody in the whole world, with an idea. It was an ideas competition. It was not a realization competition. And then out of the, 150, 180 projects, there were 10 selected projects. And we all were invited to come here to present to each other, to the city. There were public forums. So already the range of projects was public. Then all the projects were on the internet with guest books, people that could write.
I can remember that, yeah. Right.
And it was very helpful for us because we could see where we were not brave enough, but where we were maybe not sensitive enough as well. At the same time, citizens could understand what was coming and the ideas behind it. So we had a lot of references to, for example, at the Plaza de Jesús, Cristo. No.
Cristo de Burgos?
Yeah, Cristo de Burgos.
San Pedro.
San Pedro, yeah. So there are these huge trees, and we basically do the same thing but constructed. So there was a reference. It's not different. It's just new. It's constructed. Yeah, it's nature. We looked at the roof of the cathedral, and this is like the beautiful undulated roof of the Setas. And so there were certain references where people could understand why it's made for Seville, what its relationship, to elements that we found here, that we brought together and interpreted in a new way. Also, when there was comments about this is like so modern and how does this relate to the history of Sevilla, then I always refer to the moment when Muslim culture and science came to Europe in Seville, in Cordoba, in this area, where actually this is where our modern innovation happened. And this is the moment I wanted to celebrate, and not like some kind of historic imagery that is kind of not active anymore. And then from there on, in the competition presentations, I think there was a different understanding and a different participation in thinking, where this relationship actually can happen. Then after it opened, there was a lot of criticism, mostly from the Catholic Church. They say it would ruin the Semana Santa and this would kind of kill the tradition in the city.
Yeah.
Now it's actually making their success even more successful.
Yeah. It was the opposite.
The opposite. And I think in the beginning also the city was a little hesitant, maybe also the governments changed to really celebrate it as it was. But my experience was when I talked to people, the older generation and the young people, they really loved it. And there was a middle-aged group that were like, oh, do we need this? Can we afford it? What is this? Does this match our city? But the old people said, finally something new happens. And the young people said, finally something new happens here. And so I think the majority was, in my perception, very curious and wanted to see it built. And I think it proves that it was the right decision.
So you are really in contact with Seville because of the Setas, no? You are constantly...
I was here with my parents in '92 for the World Expo, and that's when it was really hot, and there was all this spray already, in the Cartuja. And so I knew shadow was the most important element to bring to this place. If you want to be outside and enjoy the public space. And so the shadow was the idea, and then we had to start with the roof, how to create that shadow, how to make that roof nice and interesting. And then because the archaeology was already very well researched, you could only go in very specific points with the load into the ground. So that's why the load goes down in very concentrated points, and that's how the form sort of developed.
I am really curious, and I love to share stories about the small details of the city. And I don't know if many people know that where is the origin of the wood?
Oh, the wood comes from Finland. It's Finnish timber. It was shipped to Munich, outside of Munich, to get cut and glued together, and then also the details were glued in. Then it was shipped to Sevilla, outside of the city, to be coated with polyurethane coating, and then brought here and put together. So it's basically a whole cross diagonal through the northern part of Europe all the way down to the south. So it's kind of a European project. If you will.
Can I tell a secret to the people?
But it's not a secret anymore.
Yeah. We have a dinner a month ago, and we went to El Garloche. It's one of my favorite places in Seville. And when we were there, I told Miguel, the barman, this is Juergen Mayer, this is the architect responsible for Las Setas. And Miguel told me, you have to tell him that the Setas are made with wood from Finland.
Yeah.
And you understand, and you thought, this is explaining this to me. And it was amazing because I think that...
You didn't believe him.
Yeah, yeah. And this is one really special in Sevillian people. we want to show our things to everybody, and everybody, even the person who did the setas. No? It was really crazy for me, and this was really the way we are. No? This is the more special work you have done. I mean, maybe in spirit. I don't know the size or the relevance, but for you, it's a special connection.
I think it's almost one in a lifetime project, where everything comes together in a really kind of fantastic way. The site in the city of, in the center of the historic city on Roman ruins, with the people who are lively, with an architecture that is really outstanding and very specific and iconic. It creates an address, and maybe it's first irritating, but then once you start to try to understand what's going on, it really grows on you. Mm-hmm. And I think you can also see that in the name, which is now actually a name that came from the people in Seville. Already, like when we did, we won the competition, we had all these discussions. It was some newspaper who called it Setas.
Really? I didn't know that.
No, it was like already
because
like maybe
the official name is Metropole Parasol.
Exactly, yeah. So we had to make a name, and we felt Metropole Parasol is a fantastic name. Yeah. And I still think it's a fantastic name. But in an everyday use, I think Setas is more like it's made by people from here.
By people, yeah, for
and
sure. The proof is something.
And that's how it arrived. I think it's a proof that it's arrived. But then also other people who are not architects use it in their work as well. Maybe you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, because in my first book, I need to put a bomb in a place in the city. Yeah. So I think your Setas, it was the perfect place to explode something. But finally, it's not.
It didn't
For me,
work.
it's really special because I wrote your name in my novel, and now we are talking in the Setas with my book in your hand. So it's something strange. Sometimes the universe has
it's
plans.
Reverse, yeah.
Yeah. I need to know, we have talked about what's the meaning of Las Setas for Seville, and I would like to know what's the meaning of Las Setas in your career.
It was very early in my career. I started my company around 98, 99, when I won the first competition, which was a town hall near Stuttgart on a former American military base, which is also a very unique, special icon for the city. And we won the Mies van der Rohe award when it was finished. And I think this was also the help why we got this project, and somebody trusted us. I was 35 years old or something, almost like 37 years maybe, when I won the competition. So I think also from the city, it's very, adventurous, to work with somebody that young on a project like this. So I'm very, very grateful that all this happened. But there are different complexities in our work, but this one I think has the most embracing elements. It has really early history, it has innovation, technology. I think we developed a project structure that hasn't been done before, with this fluid timber, metal connection. So it's like one of the biggest bonded structures in the world. It's the largest timber construction in the world. So it really became a kind of a reference for a new innovation and maybe a very early timber project. Now everybody talks about timber architecture. At that time, it was one of the very few in the world that used timber. And it was also an opener for many other projects of ours. Some of them were built, a lot of them were not built. There's similar structures with this waffle system, like a pier tower in Georgia on the Black Sea. We do furniture in this kind of technique. So it's one of our repertoires.
Yeah.
But this one, I think is still outstanding.
It was a big portfolio, right?
Yeah.
Can you remember the exactly moment when you thought, okay, this is the shape I want to make in this context in Seville?
Well, we only had 3 weeks actually to work on the competition, so it happened in these first 3 weeks. And the first idea was shadow, and the shadow needs a roof. So this was, other people did a huge triangle building, some people did 3 high-rises. Yeah. There was a kind of a really luxurious jungle park. There was a minimalist plaza. There were all kinds of proposals. For us, it was the shadow, which was the element. So we started with the roof, and then it was about how to shape the roof. Do make it organic, make it triangular, make it like orthogonal, should it go up and down? And then once you have the roof to create shadow, you have to like bring the loads down. So since there were only very little points where we can take the load down,
it was the inverse the process.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, we started with the roof and then we went into the ground and then we layered all the program underneath, like the archaeology, food market, and elevated plaza, which is another outdoor public space. And
you talked before about travel to Seville with your family in Expo 92. I need to know what did you think? And this is amazing. Still talking about the universe. I'm not really spiritual, but it's really curious how in that moment it was impossible that you knew that this city were going to be so important for you. But what do you remember from that travel?
Not too much. I remember we were on the cathedral, and I still had photos from the roof, and the stone roof on the top, from looking down, which I
haven't been in the roof, so.
Now you go to the tower. You look down onto the roof. You don't know it's really beautiful, like
yeah. I think I need to go, but.
I think most impressive for me, and this was the first time I saw this, was the mist sprinklers on the car.
The water.
There was this whole like walkway, like this metal frame, and you walk along the expo area. And of course the expo pavilions. I remember from the city center, not too much, I have to say, but the cathedral, yes.
Maybe it was the origin of the idea from the shadows.
Shadow, yeah. Of course.
It was in your mind.
No, the climate was, of course, that but I remember, and the sprinkling, that the heat is something really present. It's very present here. Of course, you had 7 months of rain now, which is different. So climate change creates maybe a different environment and different architecture later on. But in this case, it was the heat and it was the shadow. Shadow was like the most important element.
When you design something so special as Setas, it's so spectacular. I can remember a trip to Brussels, and in a souvenir, in a concept store, I bought a card with some famous buildings in the world, and the Setas was in that card. Yeah, I need to look for that card, and I will give you. But
the souvenir industry is going wild now.
This is a signal. Yeah. Okay, but. When you design something so special like this, still you have something that I would like to improve that, or this was a mistake, or for you it's a perfect work?
Well, a piece of architecture is always a negotiation between many things.
Okay.
And so you design something, then there comes the budget, and there comes companies who have like better ideas or not so good ideas, but. Then there are regulations, there's the landmark department, they tell you higher, lower, then there comes the structural engineer, there's like, it's not always like the division of an architect, like it's a long negotiation for, in this case, like 7-8 years from the very beginning, about any railing, then there's maybe a safety person saying that the railing has to be in a different shape, or the colors are questioned.
The color, I would like to ask you for the color. Why this kind of yellow, brown?
There's a lot of wind from Africa coming, Sahara, so you have a lot of like beige dust on buildings and on the street, on cars. So we wanted to have a color that doesn't look dirty very quickly. And since at least I had the experience, I went to Barcelona for like an architecture tour, and there's this huge blue triangular conference center, dark blue, but it was so like dusty because all this kind of Sahara, dust was lying on top of it. So I felt if you do something which is Sahara colored, then maybe it's easier. You don't have to clean it so often, and I think it works. And also, it very much looks like timber. So when you show pictures and you tell them it's timber, people believe it's timber, but by this, what they see is actually a color.
And if you decide to change the color, what color did you choose? Will you choose?
No, that is the color we chose.
But in another color?
No, I like it. Maybe a little bit more gray. I would just maybe change it a little less yellow and a little bit more grayish. But otherwise, I think it has a very nice warmth. And I have an obsession with beige colors anyway. So I do a lot of research on beige as a cultural phenomenon. So I think it works well.
What do you think is going to happen with Las Setas in the future?
I think it will survive for a couple more years. And it's meant to be here for a long, long time. And to see how, I think also the city learned how to use it, how to work with it, how to profit from it. If you have friends in town, you would come here and show it to your friends, no? Or you would tell them, go and see that.
For me, it's a meeting point. I mean, we see you in Las Setas. Yeah, it's a.
And companies come here, like the soccer club, it takes pictures here. I think it becomes part of an identity, and if that's gone, I think the city will have feel like a loss. And I think that strength is making it survive, at least for a couple of decades, I hope. And also we managed it to be safe for heat warming, climate change, up to maybe the last 100 years, as we calculated, depending on where the weather goes and the climate goes. But I think it's the right place at the right moment and in the right city. And I think the city became a much more exciting place with this project. And also when there's city marketing or like even Spain marketing sometimes, I see always the parasol as part of the main images, to promote Spain.
There is a controversial topic in Europe about the tourism in the cities. What do you think about this process? I think all the cities are in the same, but do you see many difference between this Seville and the Seville from 20 years ago?
Yeah, of course. You see a lot of, much more tourists. You see a lot of more marketing for the city. I mean, it's also part of, let's say, the problem if you do marketing for your city. You have, Seville is like #1 on my Instagram feed, in a list of 20 cities, the best cities in the world, and Seville is up there. And it's not like a major city. It's a kind of a small city in a certain way. At the same time, I think the combination of innovation, history, food, climate, all that makes it a success story in a certain way. But it needed also, the understanding as a city to communicate that to the outside. I know there were demonstrations against tourism here on the Setas. And this is part of the problem, of course. At the same time, I think it also increased the life quality of people from Sevilla. So it's kind of a give and take. The biggest effect is maybe the housing criteria. And
prices are so high.
Yeah, and this is something that you can control. Barcelona is now trying to do that, and Paris also. So I think there must be other tools to control that. I don't know if architecture can do that, but of course this is part of the success and part of the problem.
Many people think that we are losing our spirit. For you, that you came really often, but you are from Germany, do you think they still have this singular spirit?
I think it was more exotic for me when I came here in 2004-05. I remember we were hanging out in streets and street bars at 2 or 3 in the morning, and there were these singers coming, and at middle of the night. I was surprised.
Yeah. We have a special relation with bars. Yeah.
Yeah, but then also you had these singing people in the street, and this is not allowed anymore. This one street where all the bars were for the foreign exchange students, the language students. Yeah. Which was this super near Alfalfa, no? Mm-hmm. You had this very dense street. It's empty now. So that whole culture is gone. The liveliness of the night. Of course, you have people who live here. We have to respect that as well. But I think this is part also of the regulations we have in Europe, where there seems to be a standardized understanding of comfort, and that of course kills a lot of local specialties. And I think the singing at night is one of these specialties that I'm kind of missing.
I love to show people. I mean, for example, my son is. I have 2 sons, 11 years old and 4 years old. To Silvio, he's 11 years old. I love to show the pictures of the city 20, 30 years ago. And one of the more amazing changes is La Plaza de la Encarnación. Can you remember how it was before the Setas?
No, I see pictures, but I cannot remember. I see there was just a stone, parking spot, basically,
it's another planet.
Gravel, yeah. And you see the historic images before with the market. And I think today one would do everything to save that old historic structure. But this was already gone in 1970s, I think, and then or 50s. The first part that's the south part for the bus roundabout, and the other part in the 70s. And then it was a temporary parking spot for 30 years, which is a long time.
In the 80s, I can remember the buses, the buses
exactly.
driving around the square.
But I have friends who were here, they were like a little older than me, and they were here in the 70s and maybe even early 80s. And they say that they still saw earth streets in the city center. So like that part I can't remember. But so you see how fast things have changed in the last 10, 50 years. But I mean, working with you on Felice, on like the iconic thing, was also a result out of this project. I think the idea that there's somebody who comes with a different vision of the city into 20 years later almost, into a visual identity and a visual placemaking. I think it was a great honor to be part of that. And also, I felt there was kind of a curiosity and excitement about it here in the city.
Really exciting to think that you have changed not just the center of the town, the spirit, because I think that Las Setas drives the whole community of the city to another place. And I don't know, because there are few works that can do that. You are one of the persons, and I don't know, how do you feel that? It's a big responsibility.
In the beginning, I didn't know what came out of it, and I think this is much more than what I imagined.
Yeah, you're making a building, yeah.
But also, I felt, it needs to have people, it needs to be like a place where people go, but the whole dimension of city enjoyment, economic success, there's even like a research in the university that just looks at the project as an economic force within the tourist development of Sevilla. And if tourism would go like this, with Parasol it goes like this. So there's something that can be traced back to this one. And so I think it affects everybody in the city because it brings more taxes here, it brings more visitors, it brings maybe another kind of excitement also about visiting something else that's not conventional or that is kind of something that you know already, like curious for something new, that unexpected.
I think you discover another city in Seville. I mean,
but it was all references to things I saw here. I just had a different view on it.
Yeah, but we need a clean eyes, you know? Yeah. I think you, I suppose because you are German, so you came here and you see something it was hidden for us. And you identify that and say, okay, we have this potential and we can drive the city with one monument to another stage. And this is really, really brilliant. I mean, you change a city.
I think so, in a certain way. Not, of course, everything, but only together with the people from here. And there had to be people who make decisions here in the city, like the Monteserin, the mayor, alcalde at that time, people who organized the competition, people who stood behind the project, who fought it also. So it's not only my achievement. I think it's a real. I had an idea that worked, and that other people could actually use, for their ideas. So in the end, it made a lot of people happy, but also was a difficult road. And there were so many moments in 2008, when the crisis happened, and the whole country had to really rethink, what the future is of Spain, the next generations, all of that. But I think it became a place for that discourse. When it opened, there was this huge plaza, with the demonstrations. One stem was the kitchen, one stem was the Wi-Fi zone, one stem was the workshop area. So it became the organization of a whole discussion about the future of all Spain. It happened here in Sevilla, on this place, in Barcelona, in Madrid, in Valencia, all these other ones. But here the architecture even organized the thinking, with this kind of kitchen, Wi-Fi, that was kind of interesting. And you could sleep at that time also on the plaza. I have pictures. Actually, you could sleep in a sleeping bag.
Really?
People were allowed to sleep there.
I think we have to thank you because you help us to believe that we can be another place, another city. I think this is really, really difficult, but with Las Setas, you show us that we can be a better place without leaving our traditions, because for me it's really exciting when I see in Holy Week those pictures with a Virgin or a Christ in the first space and the Setas after that. It's
a good combination.
Something that I feel as my place. For people from Madrid, it could be something strange, but for me, so identity. And I need to say thank you to you.
And the church was one of the biggest criticisms in the beginning. And the first year it was finished, it was on the cover of their leaflet for the program of the man or something.
Really?
So it's not so bad. But in a certain way, as an architect, you also, I'm not an architect who is obsessed with the building and that you cannot make any changes. I think a building is alive, and finishing a building is only the beginning of new transformation. So sometimes you agree with.
It's the same with the books.
Same with the book.
Finish it writing. Now is the start of the life of the book.
Yeah. But with some developments you agree, with some you don't agree. But at some point you have to let go, and you can maybe give some guidance if somebody wants to listen to you. But I think that's the power. The structure is so strong that minor changes don't really hurt it. Like there's always a surviving general idea, which is so much more powerful.